So many of you are thinking right now, why can't I eat what I grew up on? Maybe you come from an Indian-based background. Maybe you come from vegan. Maybe you just come from good old America and you're going, why can't I eat what I used to be able to eat? I now have this disease. God has smited me. Everything is off and wrong. Why did this happen to me? Victim. I lived in that victimhood for a lot of years. Well, I can almost promise you, you have poor digestion and you have a weakened gut lining. The third thing is you have to rebalance. You have to take back your land. How is it that most of us could eat all sorts of food before we were sick? And then when we got sick with inflammatory bowel disease, SIBO, IBS, gut disorders, we started losing the ability to eat food we were fine with in the first place. Does that happen to you? Has it happened where when you were growing up, you were actually fine with a little pizza, fine with a little ice cream? You're doing okay, great with a soda, a Coke? All of a sudden, something happened in our lives, and now, month after month, year after year, the ability to tolerate food we could handle is no longer tolerable. We are having sensitivities to foods that were seemingly okay. Were we just not aware it was harming us? Were we just being foolish? Well, how come the symptoms have gotten so exasperated? Because I don't remember having such severe diarrhea, urgency, bloat with ice cream, with milk, with bread, with Chipotle, with tacos, with chips and salsa. So wait a minute, we know this has changed. What happened? And over time, we get enrolled in this idea that yes, food matters, correct. Yes, these foods are toxic and poisonous, correct. Yes, we need to remove them to be able to get a healing response. This is important, correct. But once we do that, how do we make sure we don't get trapped in the chronic emotional disease of I have to live on a strict diet for the rest of my life. I can no longer eat these foods. And I have evidence. I have receipts, Dane. I can't handle these foods like I could 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 20 years ago. I can't handle these beverages anymore. And what happens is our body is enrolling us that we are sensitive to these foods. The labs might even do it, right? An IgG, IgA, food sensitivity panel, or a wheat zoomer, or a dairy zoomer, or a lectin zoomer to see how we're responding to these foods. And yep, we're sensitive, not allergic, sensitive to these foods. And those two things especially then help enroll us in a trauma experience that even being around the food, touching, smelling the food, tasting the food causes a nervous system reaction that we are going to flare, that we are injured. It's almost like emotionally we swallowed a grenade and we're just like waiting for the time bomb to go off. What did I just do? Dun, 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 dun. And now we become aware. We become aware that we've become sensitive to all these foods. Yes, we need to fix our body. Yes, there's so much we need to do that we will do for you. And everyone already listening live in the Shield program is already seeing the massive success on what's possible. We need to restore the gut. But as we start to restore the gut, which is not the point of today's conversation, we've had that conversation plenty of times. We will do that for you with your custom plan. As we restore the gut, what is the strategy to start adding foods back in, eliminating the sensitivity to foods that are healthy for us, that a normal gut should be able to have? Let's put that in stone right now. If I'm truly healed, should I be able to handle healthy, organic, God-made food from the earth? If I'm really healed, should I be able to have well-created, gluten-free bread, maybe homemade, home-milled bread? What about cow or goat or sheep or coconut? What about fiber? What about salad? What about an apple with the skin? What about a little bit of seed, pumpkin seed? What about pecan? What about almond? What about black beans? Should I be able to tolerate and handle and not have fear around eating a lima bean or a black bean? What is your intuitive answer? My answer is yes. And that's when something changed in my life after years of living on restrictive eating lifestyles and being on restrictive eating diets. I came to this conclusion that I wanted to get on the offensive healing. And as I truly healed my gut, I should be able to add back in quality, healthy, organic foods while mitigating poisonous, fake food. That's the real discrepancy. It's not the change. It's not the argument we've been under for the last 20 years in functional medicine of plant versus meat. It's toxic, fake versus real. That's the real fight. We've been blindsided to argue with each other over God's food, right? Of animal-based and plant-based, and its quality to us because we're so injured because all of us are having these gut health issues. So we're looking at demonizing a plant or a piece of meat, and that's not the real battle. That is a micro conversation, in all honesty. The real battle is fake versus real. That is not real chicken. That is fake, poisonous, toxic, antibiotic-filled chicken, okay, with growth hormones and God knows what other chemical in the actual meat that I am ingesting, okay? That is not a strawberry. That is a GMO strawberry with glyphosate and other herbicides and pesticides that clog up my lymphatic system, that act as an antibiotic, killing off the diversity of my microbiome, that cause leaky gut, damaging the epithelial cell lining in my microbiome, all right, that disrupts cell-to-cell communication and disrupt mitochondria energy producing within the cell. That is poison. They call them both strawberries. There's fake, poisonous strawberries, and then there's real, organic, non-GMO, non-chemical strawberries. That's the real argument. So when we start talking about how to eliminate food sensitivity, we have to build a foundation of how we heal, okay? We have to build a foundation from understanding fake food versus real food. Is it your goal to be able to handle fake food? Well, to a certain point, when you restore the gut, you should be able to handle some of the stress of nasty foods. We call that celebration meal, meaning I could go have McDonald's. I could have Papa John's. I could have French fries cooked in canola oil. I could have beer with, beer has some of the highest amount of glyphosate in the United States. We're talking about that Bud Light, that Budweiser, all that. I could have a beer, I could have a pizza, and I could have normal bowel movement after that. Now, if I keep poisoning myself, my gut might get mad at me, but my shield, that's why we call the program shield, is strong enough that I can handle some of that poison. So in fact, yes, as you restore the gut, you can handle some poison, but you don't want to. So foundationally, I eat whatever I want. I just don't poison myself. And I say that because I've eliminated the fear and worry and doubt of eating natural organic foods. We want to be able to handle a grain, handle a bread, handle a polysaccharide, handle a vegetable or fruit that's naturally high in a lectin, okay? But our ability to be able to know what it's high in, a natural plant defense, a natural animal defense, and reduce that to help take off that stress off our body is important and key. We also call that food philosophy. So you have to have this foundation before you start to consider being able to handle foods again. So that's really what healing is, right? To restore. We have to restore. What are you looking to restore if you are going to be able to start eliminating food sensitivity, okay? What's a good key if we know it's sensitive versus allergic? If you had no allergy to the food, let's say you just got UC or Crohn's disease 5-7 years ago. If you had no allergy to the food beforehand and you were fine with it, and now you can't tolerate it, you can't eat it, that is most likely a sensitivity, not an allergy. And when you restore the gut, you will most likely be able to handle that food again when it's in its real form and properly prepared using food philosophy. Food philosophy is what we train and what we do here in the Shield program to help people eliminate a diet and build a lifestyle. Okay? So that foundation, what are the things you have to restore before you start considering of re-adding in foods you want to add in again? Again, we're talking beans, bread, seeds, nuts. We're talking raw foods, carrots, broccoli, being able to have a little bit of condiment, a little ranch dressing, right? Be able to go to a restaurant. And even if it's not perfect food and it's got a little bit of this and that, you should still be able to tolerate because you've rebuilt the gut. You've had a healing response. Well, number one, digestion. Almost all of us with gut health issues have poor stomach acid, low pancreatic enzymes, a stagnant liver, and also causing lack of bile production that breaks down fats and helps you absorb and break down fats to create cholesterol, to create hormones, and also fat-soluble vitamins like A, D, K, and E. And the ability to have a proper bowel movement. There is a plethora of value with the ability to break down fats with bile, pancreatic enzymes that help take that food in the small intestine and absorb all those nutrients, all those vitamins, all those minerals, all those proteins. The pancreatic enzymes help to do that through the duodenum, the jejunum, right? The ileum. And stomach acid. Stomach acid is something that protects us from that bug, that viral load, that parasite, that bacteria, that thing that causes food poisoning. There's a common phrase in all of our cultures of a person having an iron gut. And what that essentially means is that their natural defenses are so strong and protective, they're less likely to get food poisoning or have a nasty reaction from eating a variety of food, as opposed to us with IBD, right? If you and I have IBD and we go visit Thailand, we go to Africa, right? We go to Seychelles Island. We all of a sudden, it's like, oh, bloating, diarrhea, urgency. We go to Bali. We're the ones going, I'm getting more than Bali belly. This is going to take me. I might have to go to the ER room. I shouldn't have come here. That's the fear and trauma. Until we can start to build that tolerance and strength, okay, we're going to be a prisoner of that. And one of the best ways to do it is if you're scared of organic, and you know you're sensitive, and this isn't a true allergy, and you're scared of a polysaccharide, right? A complex carb, pasta, bread, grain, and you were scared of that, how are you ever going to be able to feel comfortable in another culture, in another continent where everything's different, right? If you can't even handle food, you're still scared of it that you could handle 5 years ago. So that's the point we want to go over. We got to get that digestion. The fire has to be strong. We've got to up those pancreatic enzymes. In this process, one of the things I love to do is take a digestive enzyme, especially if you're new to this, because you need to support your pancreas with those pancreatic enzymes. You need to support your liver by giving yourself maybe some ox bile, right? Go to the store, check it out. A lot of them are 250, 500 milligram capsules. Ox bile, maybe a little bit of betaine HCl before the meal. Don't take it after, you will get heartburn. This can help with that first process of being able to handle food. So if we're eliminating food sensitivity, you have to check off that you can properly digest the food. Do you know two of the hardest proteins to break down in the body? Gliadin from gluten and casein. Okay, casein from dairy. Maybe some of the reasons why we're having such diarrhea and gas and cramping is undigested proteins from some of these foods. So we have to optimize digestion if we're going to eliminate food sensitivity. What's the second thing we got to do? We have to do, this is like a part one and a sub of part two. We have got to get rid of leaky gut. What is leaky gut? The tight junctions of your epithelial cell lining are injured. And this allows undigested foods from the digestion problem. This allows endotoxins from the SIBO, from the SIFO, from the parasite, from the virus, all these shedding die-off endotoxins to go right in the bloodstream, causing a systemic problem. This allows the immune system to be exposed to foods, to bacteria, to pathogens it wasn't exposed to. Why? Because 60 to 70% of the immune system lives in that gut lining. They're called Pear's patches. These big mountains hold these dendritic cells and T cells. And when they come in contact with all this goo they're not supposed to in contact with, what do they create? Pro-inflammatory cytokines. We TNF alpha, right? Remicades a TNF alpha blocker. The dendritic cells create the TNF alpha, the interleukin 6, the interleukin 1 beta. These are pro-inflammatory cytokines as attack dogs to attack these pathogens as seen as foreign invaders. Well, they send off the nukes, and what gets injured in the meantime? Our own body. Molecular mimicry. The body starts attacking itself. Now the gut lining is inflamed. We have got to fix leaky gut. But there's a second section that most people miss. There's a second section, really a third section, 3 sections. The second, mucosal membrane. See, the epithelial cell lining is as thick as 1/2 of a human hair. And that needs to get strong and tight, but it's never going to get that strong and tight until we rebuild the mucosal membrane. The thick, spongy, slippery mucous membrane is so good for your body. It's so needed. It's going to help balance the endotoxins, making it into the gut lining. It will act as a shield. It will act as a bouncy house. Up, bounce off. Nope, you're not coming in here. It will help control infections and even bacteria from the colon, making it up your GI tract, the slippery slope the bacteria cannot climb. It will defend against endotoxins. It will defend against food particles, making it into the bloodstream, increasing food sensitivity, and it will defend against the dysbiotic bacteria. We have to rebuild. We have to heal the epithelial cell lining, rebuild the mucosal membrane, restore the gut-associated lymphatic tissue, and the mucus-associated lymphatic tissue, molt and galt. All of this, that big, nice health barrier. It's all big words and scientific words for a big, nice, healthy barrier. So when we do that, what do you think is going to happen to your food sensitivities? When we rebuild the wall, when we optimize digestion and we rebuild the wall, what do you think is going to happen to your ability to handle a little brown rice? Properly prepared with food philosophy. What's going to happen to your ability to handle a little black bean? Millet. So many of you are thinking right now, why can't I eat what I grew up on? Maybe you come from an Indian-based background. Maybe you come from vegan. Maybe you just come from good old America and you're going, why can't I eat what I used to be able to eat? I now have this disease. God has smited me. Everything is off and wrong. Why did this happen to me? Victim. I lived in that victimhood for a lot of years. Well, I can almost promise you, you have poor digestion and you have a weakened gut lining. The third thing is you have to rebalance. You have to take back your land. Imagine you've been invaded by candida. You've been invaded by bacteria that didn't stay in their own land, right? If you like some of the old Viking shows, right? The heathens have come in and taken your land. The territory has been overgrown with bad guys. That's called dysbiosis. It commonly happens in the colon, colonic dysbiosis, related to ulcerative colitis. Pretty much everyone with UC is going to have some sort of colonic dysbiosis. Bacteria that is naturally there, but overgrown. Fungus, candida. Candida is naturally occurring in the colon, but overgrown. And you know where this is, the body, the defenses are weakest? The small intestine. And it causes a perpetual amount of problems, neurological, right? Drainage pathways, gut lining, skin reactions, hormone issues. It all gets way worse when that dysbiotic issue hits and grows in the small intestine versus the colon, because the colon has a stronger natural mucosal membrane. The small intestine is paper thin and weak because these bacteria are not supposed to be there, and they never have been there. And the body's natural defenses keep them from there. But then they get in there, the digestion, right? The gut lining gets destroyed in turn by the dysbiotic bacteria, by the small intestine overgrowth, by the small intestine fungal overgrowth, which cause the cascade of problems. You are having food sensitivity. Maybe you're getting bloated, gas, urgency every time you eat anything with a carbohydrate. Maybe you feel like you have to follow the low FODMAP diet, okay? FODMAP, the type of carbohydrate that's fermenting in the body. The principles of that diet teach us that a food might be good, but too much of that food might be bad. So it's not just what you eat, it's how much you eat of it, causing a fermentation response. And that fermentation response may increase histamine reactions, may increase endotoxin release, further perpetuating the inflammation, further damaging the gut lining, further putting pressure on your liver because it's getting into the capillaries, the blood vessels, further causing a stagnant lymphatic system because it's getting into the lymph through the gall being damaged, the molt being damaged. It's like the ocean. Your body is just like the ocean. You take one type of, animal out, one type of food source, you add one type of chemical, and there's a cascade effect. You are not going to be able to eliminate food sensitivity until you restore the microbiome. Now, essentially, you have to heal the gut to be able to add the food back in, to be able to get rid of the symptoms, and potentially be able to get normal lab work with a normal colonoscopy. When one thing gets better, everything gets better. When one thing gets worse, everything gets worse. The hardest thing is we just think we're going to do one thing. Give me that one supplement. Give me that one diet, that generic famous diet. Give me that one meditation. No, you have to rebuild a universe within your body. There are trillions of bacteria growing, communicating, and dying every single day. To look into your gut is almost to look into the stars. It's beyond, it's unfathomable how many layers of reaction and cause and effects are happening. And that's why we have to go to Mother Earth. We have to go to fermented foods. We've got to go to natural foods. We have to go to natural phenomenons where the body can start to take care of the trillions of connections going on because the body wants to heal. That's the genius of it. How do you know? Because you have natural mechanisms to restore your body already in you. Take the idea of fasting. Do nothing. Let the body do it, right? Do nothing. Do nothing. Let the body do it. The trillions of reactions at a cellular level, at a bacterial level, at a fungal level, at an immune system level, at a nervous system level, at our ability to restore and utilize nutrients and get rid of senescent old cancerous cells and rebuild new cells and activate stem cells, which happens in fasting. Stem cells are these conscious cells that go around the body and heal whatever is need to be done, right? Oh, there it is. Go there. Send people. Release exosomes. Release these growth factors to heal this tissue, heal this heart, heal this colon. It's a beautiful symphony. We got to get out of its way. So when you're eliminating food sensitivities, these are the foundations of what we do for you in the SHIELD program. This is what we train you to do. This is how we build your unique shield. And everyone has to do this, right? But there's more than one way to reach the goal. We all have a different way of how we respond to a supplement or a diet or a biohack or an herb. And we all have to find ways to, how do we restore your microbiome, your microbiome, your microbiome, your digestion fishing, your culture, your creed, your lifestyle, your unique healing response, your body's identity, in response to what we're doing. Customize your answer. The microbiome, the gut lining, the digestion, the nervous system, right? The nervous system. That trauma is keeping us in a state of anxiety. We know that how you feel has a physical response. You have to restore the nervous system back into balance and help the vagus nerve to restore into balance, but only happens when you restore the parasympathetic nervous system. We have to truly allow ourselves to calm down, to heal, to rest, to be happy, right? To engage the parasympathetic rest and digest and healing part of the autonomic nervous system. And there are different layers of this, like drainage pathways and cell-to-cell communication and keystone microbiota. There are layers beyond today's lecture and today's podcast to help you. But this is the foundation. And when you do this, now we can start to decide to add in normal, healthy, real food using food philosophy. And just ask yourself, now you can get on the offense. Now you can be creative. Now you can start to say, what's my game plan to be able to have a salad again? Well, for example, with a salad, I want to prepare it properly for a gut that has gone through a lot, just like a bad knee. If I've had a bad knee and I'm going to get back on the basketball court again, or I want to be able to run a mountain again, or I want to get on a treadmill again, I might create certain parameters to make it easier on my knee to be exposed to that experience. So I have a healing response and not a further damaging response, right? You get on the treadmill trying to prep your knee that run further helps heal the knee. But if you do it wrong, that run will re-injure the knee. So you try to prep this experience of getting on the offensive food, of eliminating the food sensitivity, of reintroducing the food properly. how you prepare the food, pressure cook it, bake it, turn it into a soup, ferment it. One of the best ways to restore the body's ability to handle something is fermenting it. You want to be able to handle dairy again? Maybe we start with a certain type of yogurt. Maybe we start with a dairy-based probiotic like Natron Dairy powder, 1/4 a teaspoon of bifidobacterium. Wait, what did he say? If I start with pre-cultured amounts of that food, pre-cultured dairy, do you think your tolerance of dairy will go up? Because you need the type of bacteria to break down that food. You need the type of enzymes. You need a strong digestion process. You need pancreatic enzymes to be high. You might need extra lactase enzyme to break down lactose. And the more your microbiome is conditioned to handle these natural foods, the more you're going to have no problem with it. How do you think I went from not being able to have a salad for 7 or 8 years, not having any dairy for 7 or 8 years, not having beans and grains and sticking just paleo and just this, to be able to eat a wide variety of natural, clean, properly prepared food? I couldn't have a sip of water without 20 bloody baboons a day. Now I can eat a salad with a steak, and I can have green beans, I can have edamame, and I can have raw carrots and raw broccoli. I have no problem with it. I don't see undigested food in the stool. I don't get bloat. I don't get cramp from it. I don't worry about running to the bathroom. I don't get urgency. And I can properly prepare the food by maybe considering certain, let's take a salad, for example, starting with salads with lower amounts of oxalates, lower amounts of lectins. So maybe instead of spinach, I'm using arugula, maybe a little broccoli sprout, maybe a little house Romanian salad. Maybe I'm starting it by prepping it, by letting it sit in a base of acids like apple cider vinegar, lemon, and maybe some glyphosate-free organic honey. That also could be potential at helping to regulate H. pylori, healing and soothing the esophagus and any kind of gastritis, helping to give me a good sweet taste without spiking my glycemic index so high. Wait, what did he say? Yes. See, this is where we get taught. This is where we get trained. It's not about a magic protocol. We call that MPS. It's a common disease, magic protocol syndrome. Okay. I'm diagnosing it left and right. If you hear what I'm saying, we've got to be able to look at it and condition the food. So if I use the certain plants that have less type of plant defenses, like oxalates and lectins, and then I let it sit in an acid that further breaks it down, you're going to see the volume of the salad go from here to there in about 5 to 10 minutes. And the acids are going to break down any kind of raw bacteria you might be susceptible to because of low digestion, because of a weak microbiome. You're more susceptible to raw foods and the bacteria on them than someone with a quote unquote iron gut. How do we know that the microbiome can be conditioned? Why is it every person living in Africa or living in India can handle these foods? Americans go over there, they start getting diarrhea, urgency, Bali. Why is it local Bali people can handle those foods? Now it's a common phrase that a high percentage of people who go to Bali and stay for 2 or 3 weeks get Bali belly. From the water, from the food, the microbiome has not been conditioned for it yet. So what do we know about it? We can condition our body to handle a variety of food. And at certain points, eating quality foods from the earth have their advantages. Fiber has an advantage. Polyphenols have an advantage. If you don't want them, you don't have to have them, right? If you want to be strict carnivore, you can do that. But maybe you don't want to be. Maybe you want to feel like I can handle, if I want, a salad. I could handle, if I want, broccoli or carrot or an avocado. Okay? And so if you want to handle these foods and restore your gut to be able to handle a wide variety of food, this is the blueprint. And this is what we do for you. This is what we train you in. This is all we do every day. So you can start by adding small amounts of fermented foods. You could start by taking that food maybe and culturing it a little bit. You want to be able to handle a certain grain. Why not make homemade? Why don't you mill that yourself and make homemade breads, homemade brownies, homemade bagels, homemade, waffles? If you can't be able to make it yourself, how can you expect to be able to handle it anywhere else? Right? Always start with homemade. Always start with homemade, anything you want to try. And then if you're saying, well, I need to change the type of flour because I can't tolerate a certain flour, what if you started milling it yourself? There are secret hidden toxins in the way even the best foods are being made because of the process of how the germ is being handled. Stone milled. Yes, mills cost a lot of money, $600, $800. But maybe it can restore your ability to handle a variety of food. I've seen members be able to handle gluten again by starting by milling their own wheat from a proper source. There's a lot to be discussed over the number one cardinal rule, how food is prepared, how grain was even found, how it was grown, and how it was milled. Am I giving you aha moments? Are you starting to learn about what is possible when you start taking this into your full hands? Stop delegating. Stop delegating. If you want to get rid of food sensitivities, build the foundations and do not delegate a single smidge of the creation of that food. And when you do it, and when you recondition your gut, your body, your nervous system, and emotional energy and connection to this food, what do you think is going to happen to your ability to travel and have it at a restaurant? What do you think is going to happen to your body and your trauma to have this in another country? If you do all this hard work and then you're from a Western country and then you decide to go to a new foreign country, Thailand, India, Africa, Bali, China, where it's a very different basic, microbiome ecosystem that we're exposed to. What do you think is going to happen to your confidence, your ability to take care of yourself, your body's ability to defend itself? Are you restoring intuitively an iron gut? Are you building an iron gut? I say yes. The perfect iron gut? No, but more. Just like getting in the treadmill. I can run farther. I'm in better shape. I have less trauma over myself being out of shape or exposed to heart issues because of what I've done in the gym, the conditioning I've done. Well, what's perfect? It's not about being perfect. It's about how I feel about myself. What's my intuition? Because in this process of healing, you have to restore your intuition to be one of the main leaders of your life. We have to restore our confidence in what we know and not just outsource what someone said to us with a diagnosis, what we read online, what other people told us and try to enroll us on what's not possible. It's just so funny to me with other people with IBD get so angry with the idea of something being possible that they never believed in the first place. Like there's some people, it's like there's the thing that'll piss them off the most is this idea of being able to cure a disease that they also have themselves. So if we even start talking about the idea of curing a disease, it's like a hornet's nest of people with IBD who refuse to believe that because they've accepted the fate that another man gave them. It's just so ironic to me. Wouldn't we want to give each other hope? What is your reality? And what you have to do is you have to take back your intuition. What do you believe? What do you know to be true? And what you're doing here when you're eliminating food sensitivity, when you're being able to restore your ability to eat a variety of plants and animals and dairy and from different restaurants and different cultures and creeds, and you restore your natural divine ability, just like a workout, just like a gym. Your legs can get stronger. Your gut can get stronger. Your mind can get stronger from reading. Your digestion can get stronger. Your gut lining, mucosal membrane can get stronger. Just like in the gym. Get in the gym of gut, right? We need a gut health gym. Wouldn't that be a cool place to go to? A gut health gym. Man, I just might have had an idea. Like you got to pay membership. You got to come in instead of doing curls. We're going to be sitting there practicing how you handle prebiotics and how you handle polyphenols and how you optimize your natural pancreatic enzymes coming out and how you get yourself in a parasympathetic state and optimize that natural digestion. We're going to bring that digestion up 20%. We're going to test your stomach acid and get it up, right? How cool is that? Am I getting you excited? Are you getting an intuitive nature of what's possible? You want to eliminate food sensitivity? You've got to thrive, not just survive. You've got to get beyond this idea of like, I just wish I could have a grain or dairy again. You've got to optimize. You've got to push the envelope. You got to do it strategically. You need to do it with a community. You need to do it in a way that serves you, that's customized to you, that you can rebuild your intuition of being your own best doctor. I know I've succeeded when you believe you can heal yourself better than I can heal you. That is true success. It's not doing the plan. It's building your plan. It's building your shield. And if I can serve you, if I can help you, right below, click the link, schedule a call with our team. It's free. It's complimentary. There's no hassle. Let's deep dive on your case, just like we deep dive today, and let's see if there's a fit. Let's see if we can get you massive results. There's got to be integrity. There's got to be a trust. And you can maybe join the community who are listening live to this right now, that we're about to deep dive on this discussion right after this podcast is over, right here in IBD University. So thank you guys. Healing is possible. See you on the next one.